Hello, my name is Chrissy Hodges. Thank you for being here today. I just realized that my banana in the back looks very illuminated because I have the light on it. That's awesome. The iridescent banana. Anyway, I just wanted to do a video tonight and talk about kind of some like channel housekeeping things for my YouTube channel, but also want to talk about the direction I want to take my advocacy moving forward, which I think is something that maybe you can relate to, something that's been really important to me in my own recovery recently. But first things first, a couple things. I monitor the channel pretty closely. I monitor the comments. And so I don't get to respond to comments, unfortunately. I do the best that I can to respond to emails. My goal is to respond to every single email at least the first time that someone reaches out to me in regards to letting them know what the next steps can be if you want to work with me and helping to find a therapist or getting support. And that's often tough to be able to keep up with. So I don't get to comments on YouTube, and I'm really sorry, but what I really love is being able to see other people in our community, be able to talk with people who are asking questions and support each other. It just warms my heart. With that said, I will respond and I will delete comments and I will block people from the channel. And I do this in a way to protect our community, not because of reassurance, but I don't feel like I want this channel to be a place where people can come on and troll or to be dicks, or to come on with an agenda and see the title of a video. Let's say if it's POCD, have somebody come on and be like, oh, pedophile sympathizer or whatever else, because they're just, too asinine to even watch the video and hear the content. So I'm very mindful of people's comments and really quick to delete if I have a gut feeling. That's the way it is. If I read a comment and I don't like how it feels, I delete it immediately. And sometimes if I don't like the content of what someone's saying, I'll block that person from my channel. And I don't do this because I'm being a jerk. I'm doing it because I think the nuances in our community can be so finite, and the last thing I want is for someone to come onto this channel and to hear something that makes them feel better and then read the comments and all of a sudden all of that is gone because there's an idiot that doesn't understand their lane and they come in there and try to drop information that's inappropriate. So if you've ever had a comment deleted, or if you notice a comment's gone and you're just wondering, you can always reach out to me over email or through my website and I can explain it to you. I usually don't even think twice though. I'm just like, delete. I don't care. If it triggers me, it's going to trigger other people. So that's the way I look at it. With that said, I also want to talk about two specific things in regards to comments that I get. And I think that they just need some clarifying on my end. Not because you've seen any interaction on the comment section, but just basically because I think it's important for us all to be aware of. So in the last few months of the 6 years of advocacy that I've done for OCD, I have been confronted on social media about using terminology such as HOCD, so homosexual themed OCD, trans OCD, in a way of being offensive to the LGBTQ community. There's a couple things I want to say about this. Firstly, if you understand the content of OCD and how it relates to whatever theme. Well, no. Firstly, let's go back before that. Firstly, the themes don't matter. And I think we all know that when we're in a theme, oh my God, they matter. They are everything. But in the grand scale of OCD, the themes don't matter. OCD is OCD. We get fixated on one theme and all of a sudden that becomes on our radar, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so now second, it's if you were to take the time to understand the content when it comes to OCD and why someone fixates on something, it's really not that hard to see where people are coming from when they say things like homosexual themed OCD or transgender OCD. And here's how I justify that. First of all, there are many people out there that are homosexual that have the fear of turning straight. And I guarantee you I will never get any comments or emails about people saying that I'm being discriminatory about straight people. Now, from a trauma-informed care perspective, trust me, I understand the distinction, because LGBTQ community has been discriminated against, and that's very different from the straight community. Yes, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about content. And when we're talking about content, we have to look at the little nuances in regards to someone who has HOCD. Yes, if I'm a woman and I have HOCD, all of a sudden I'm going to see boobs everywhere. And all of a sudden I'm going to look at women's vaginas and be like, oh my God, why did I look at that? The same way someone who has the straight OCD theme is going to all of a sudden start looking the opposite sex and be like, oh my God, why did I just look at that person's groin? And why did I do this? And I got the groinal, and oh my God. So the themes, while they probably seem to an outside perspective that they're being very judgmental, they're not. They're just content specific. And for most people who have, and I'm talking specifically about my transgender themed OC video, I had someone comment on there. I deleted it and blocked that person from the channel because they're not interested in having a discussion about it. They're interested in telling me that I'm transphobic, which is ridiculous. But it was way more focused on why would you even talk about in the video people being mindful of whether they are more feminine or more masculine. That's so offensive. And I just thought to myself, yes, but this is consistent with people's symptoms when it comes to transgender OCD or with homosexual themed OCD. You're all of a sudden going to be seeing boobs everywhere, or you're going to be rating women or rating men, or you're going to be, seeing gay couples and feeling anxiety. That's not homophobia. It's not. It's called having OCD, and that is fixating on a specific obsession. So I consider it to be awesome that in the 6 years, and I want to further talk about this in a minute, but in 6 years of doing advocacy, I've only had 2 people say something. I do want to tell you that I take things really seriously. So I don't want to offend people. I'm very afraid at times, not in an OCD way, but just a human way, when I'm talking about really sensitive topics, that I'm going to hurt a specific community because OCD has focused on it. And so I'm really sensitive to that. So I'd like to say that I'm trauma informed to that. What I don't tolerate is people just hearing when I say something and they don't take the time to do any sort of research, and they basically just throw out really mean things and say things like being homophobic and transphobic, or, you're just not being sensitive to LGBT community. I absolutely take offense and feel very hurt by that. I have many clients and have worked with people who are LGBTQ, and I've never had anybody tell that to me in regards to helping and supporting them. And in fact, I've consulted with a couple of people in regards to how I talk about HOCD and TOCD. And the only thing I could think is that I could change how I view it. And I have recently to the sexual orientation themed OCD. But I have to align with the community here and the people's mindset in crisis. When I was, and let's say if I was in crisis right now in regards to whether or not I was gay, in regards to OCD and anxiety, I don't think that I would be thinking about being PC. So I don't really think that I would go on and Google I'm worried about my sexual orientation. I'm going to go on and Google, am I gay? Am I homosexual? Right? So I try to think in that way towards the community and what the community is going to be Googling, what the community in crisis, what their needs are. So I hope that you hear that as not sacrificing one community for the other, but in some ways I have to fall to the needs of our community, because that's the community I'm involved in, and I want to make sure that I am meeting you where you're at in the best way possible. However, with that said, I do want you to know that I'm always open to feedback from people. I'm not open to public forum criticism, just so you know. Like, the main reason why is I try to treat people the way that I would treat them, and I don't go on people's public forums and bash them or say negative things about them or how they come across or their looks or things like that. If I really have concern with someone, I'm going to email them or reach out through their website. So if there's something that you're concerned about, please reach out, and I'll do my best to explain what I'm talking about and have a civil dialogue about how we can move forward, because there's always room for improvement. I think that's all I wanted to say about that, other than this topic. You may think, why are you talking about this? Just really quickly, this topic is really important to me because I've never believed that being gay was wrong. I don't believe that being transsexual or transgender is wrong. And even in the depths of HOC, I never believed it was wrong. And most people don't who suffer with HOCD. And when I first started coming out with advocacy, it was one of my biggest issues and my biggest fears, is that I would start talking openly about this and offend people and think that I was saying that it was wrong. And I've been very careful through the years to always say HOCD is a form of OCD. It is not homophobia. So that's why I wanted to touch on it. And I wanted to also use this video as a reference when I do get people that reach out and want to have that argument, so they can hear this and see where I'm coming from. And that also this is a legitimate obsession that there's tons of research and articles out there about, and I hope that people will do their due diligence and see it for what it is and how badly it makes people suffer. So the next thing I wanted to talk about really quickly before I move on to something I feel is really important is there's also another type of comment that I delete in my comment section, and this may be kind of hard to hear, and I just hope you'll hear me out. I do not tolerate or allow comments in any of my YouTube videos in regards to praying or that this is a result of religion or demon possession or anything like that. I think that if someone is talking about how prayer helps them and religion helps them, yes, that's great. And I will not delete that stuff. And I think we as a community and our individual selves with OCD, we have to use whatever resources that we have and our coping skills to be able to, survive this illness in the way that helps us the most. And I know for many people, that's religion and that's prayer. And I support that. And I hope that if that's a coping mechanism for you, that it brings you peace. However, I will often have people come onto the channel and really perpetuate black and white thinking of you just need to pray and that will resolve things, or you were demon possessed for thinking these things. And this was just recently, just FYI, so if you saw that, you know what I'm talking about. Or the only way to get better is through X amount path with religion. And I'm sorry, I just don't tolerate that. I don't tolerate that, A, because it's not in line with evidence-based treatment, and B, it's also a huge contributor to scrupulosity. And C, really, do we really need that shit? I'm sorry, we're doing the best that we can anyway. The last thing that we need is to feel guilt because, homeboy over here thinks that, he's rid of his OCD because he prayed hard enough. Come on. So, I guess what I want to tell you is that I don't tolerate that on the channel because I want to just protect all of us, and in the way of helping us to understand what will help in an evidence-based way. And that is therapy. That is working with a professional to help this. I think so many of us, including myself, live for years thinking that if only I was a better religious person, if only I did things better, if I was a better person, then these thoughts would go away. If I prayed more, if I went to church more, if I did all of this more, things would be better. And that while I think that can really enhance many of our lives in regards to what our faith tells us, no matter what that is, to see that as a solution and to see that as the only solution really perpetuates the black and white thinking that makes OCD worse. So I want you to hear me very clearly that I'm not saying that you should not be religious. Oh my God, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is to see what you do as for what it is, a coping mechanism for a major mental illness, and that if that helps you, it's awesome. But there is no need to tell everybody else that that's what they should do. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, if it helps you, great. Like, if marijuana helps you, great. But don't come onto my thread telling everybody that, like, you smoke weed and everybody else should smoke weed and it'll go away. No, bye, I'll block you. And this is just an effort to help us remember that this is an illness that's chronic, and we do what we need to do in finding the help that we need and the professional help that we need in order to move forward and inform our own recovery path. And what works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. And so we can't cut off we can't cut off things that might help us. So I'm not saying that marijuana doesn't help anybody. I mean, good Lord, I know it helps people. And I'm not saying that religion doesn't, but it's not going to help everybody. So that we need to be mindful of that in the community. And I am very strategic about making sure that that isn't a theme on the comments or as a result in the video. So lastly, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. I've kind of moved away a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed, of doing videos specifically on themes. Mainly because I think that any theme, like I said before, themes are themes. I mean, OCD is OCD. It doesn't matter. They're all OCD will latch onto something and you're going to continue to do the same compulsions regardless. The theme feels so real and so important because it's on our radar at that point. But I've been exploring some stuff in my own recovery, and I'm really getting to a point that I want to share with you the realities of living with this illness and the trauma that it causes. Now, I did a video on mental health on the Mighty a few weeks ago, and I didn't share it on the channel. I almost did, but I just thought that maybe when I share it, I want it to be more OCD specific, because I think OCD brings a specific need in order to talk about trauma. And I just want to briefly touch on it today and tell you that I'm going to look forward in talking about this topic. But let's go back to the early stages really quick, because I don't want to talk about what's going on really right now. But OCD started for me when I was 8 and continued until I was 20, until I thought that the only way out was suicide. This was back in the day, y'all. There was no internet. It's not like I could Google things. Not that I would have. I mean, I was too scared to. But I was talking to someone a couple days ago, and they said this, and it made me feel a lot better. They said, if you were a normal person and everything was going along fine, and then you got into an abusive relationship for 10 or 12 years, you would come out on the other side very, very different. You would have changed. Your worldview would have changed. Everything would have changed. And then in a lot of ways, you would feel damaged. You would feel like damaged goods because you were the victim and the product of someone else's abuse. And it made me feel so much relief, honestly, about my experience with OCD. There's so many of us, and I witness this all the time with people that I meet with, that don't feel like we're worthy of saying that we've been traumatized by OCD. And I know I've talked about this before, but I'm just going to reinforce it. We don't think that we deserve that. Or we overlook trauma maybe we've experienced in our childhood or in our adult life because we're like, yeah, but OCD was there. Or I was dealing with OCD because it was probably my fault. And I think that what I want to tell you is recently I have realized the trauma that I've experienced with OCD, this whole experience, meaning like my one-on-one relationship with how I have interacted with it through the years, and the duration that it happened without knowing, and surviving that fight, flight, or freeze instinct every single day and not having any idea that this was what it was. All of those things combined have really surfaced for me in a way of living for years in complete denial that it was okay to feel traumatized, and then recently going, no, I was traumatized and OCD can fuck itself. And I don't mean that in the way of like, I hate OCD and I hate my life, but more so like being able to view it as this was something that beat me up for a long time. And so how do I get to the next phase of reconciling that? And even not necessarily looking at it as, how do I place that for the greater good? You know how we're always looking at, what did I go through? And that will make me a better person because of, but not even that, but just like seeing it for what it is. And the reality of that is this: because we are black and white thinkers, we are, there is this notion that when we get therapy, life will be great. I've said this before, I know it. Even Phillipson says it. Lots of people say it. I'm going to get better and everything's going to be great. And what I really want to focus on moving forward and talking more about is it's okay to really reflect on what you went through with OCD and feel like it's not okay. And feel like it's not fair. And feel like, God, you had your whole life there. You had all these plans. You had, even if you were younger, you still had optimism about what, and then this thing came and like crushed you or just changed you. And you know what I think? I think we just need to know that we're not alone. I can't proclaim to offer help or to make that go away. But what I do know is in the last few weeks in meeting with people that felt the same way I did, gosh, I felt so much better. It gave me courage. It gave me that reconciliation that it's okay to feel the way that I did. It's okay to have the experience I did, and to know that my self-esteem was damaged because of it. To know that I felt like damaged goods because of it. To know that it took me decades to work through it. And so I guess my goal and my effort in the coming weeks and months is going to be to help identify some of those things that maybe you're struggling with, whether you're in it, whether you're working towards therapy, in therapy, or out of it, or whatever else. Just so you know you're not alone, and just so you know when OCD shows up, because it will, because this is lifelong, and when it does, that it's okay. And I'm out here, and all the other people are out there that are on the comment section and lots of forums and lots of places talking about their stories. But you don't have to just make the goal, I'm going to get therapy and life is great. But more of life can be okay and good, even though I'm walking alongside with OCD every single day. And that's my goal. Not to overtake it or dominate it or, kick its ass every day. Like, I don't have the energy for that anyway. But just to know that even though I'm walking alongside it, that I'm not by myself. And that other people get it and understand where I'm coming from. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I know I'm all over the spectrum. I'm like over here talking about this and over here and there, but I've been wanting to do a video for a while, and those are some really important points I wanted to make. So thanks for bearing with me, and I hope you just don't feel like this girl's all over the place. Doesn't know what she's talking about. Or maybe you do, and that's okay. But anyway, as always, I do consultations for referrals. I also am a certified peer support specialist here in Denver, and I work with people worldwide. Contact me through my website, christyhodges.com, and you can also find out about my services and the cost as well. And yeah, thanks for being here, and I hope that anything that I said tonight is going to be helpful to you in your own recovery with OCD. I'll see you soon. Bye.